Okay, let's dive in. Picture this puzzle. Maybe you've seen one, a 7x7 cube. It's way more complex than the standard 3x3, right? Lots more
Oh,
pieces.
yeah, definitely a step up.
You might just think of it as, a really tough toy, maybe for dedicated puzzle fans.
Sure, a niche thing.
But what if I told you this specific puzzle, the 7x7, is actually driving a global market? We're talking tens of millions of dollars, and it's growing.
It sounds surprising, doesn't it? Just for one type of cube.
Exactly. That's our starting point for this deep dive. We've got this report, 7-order cube market, global growth and trends. Our job is to unpack it, figure out the scale, what's pushing the growth, and, well, where this whole thing is going.
And the numbers in the report, they really paint a picture right away. So back in 2021, the global market was already worth $64.38 million.
64 million.
Oh, but it's the forecast that's really interesting. It's expected to hit $84.3 million like next year, 2025.
Wow, okay.
And then keep climbing past $144.5 million by 2033.
That's pretty substantial growth for just one type of puzzle.
It really is.
Yeah.
The report calculates the compound annual growth rate, the CAGR, at 6.97% over that whole period.
Almost 7%. That's solid.
Yeah, for something this specific, it signals real rising interest.
So the obvious question is, why? What's going on? I mean, these cubes aren't brand new tech.
Right, and the report digs into that. It seems to be a few things coming together. First, there's just more consumer interest generally in educational toys, things that make you think, brain teasers.
People looking for a challenge.
Exactly. And we're seeing schools and educational places actually using them more. Plus, the hobbyist communities, they're bigger and more connected than ever.
Okay.
And, maybe crucially, online shopping. These global digital platforms mean you can buy one pretty much anywhere now. That reach is huge.
Ah, that makes total sense. So it's demand, community, and just, well, access. The report breaks this down by region, right? Let's see where it's actually happening.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's start with North America. Pretty solid numbers there. It was $15.39 million in 2021.
15 million. Okay.
And expected to grow to over $32 million by 2033. So more than double. The CAGR there is 6.42%.
Still healthy growth. Is that mostly the U.S. or spread out?
Mostly the U.S., yeah. It holds the biggest chunk. It went from about $12.6 million to a projected $26.2 million.
Right.
Big share.
Right.
But Canada and Mexico are definitely contributing too. Canada's looking at like $1.6 million going up to $3.57 million.
Yeah.
And Mexico, $1.17 million up to $2.5 million. So widespread interest, really.
Interesting. Okay, let's hop across the pond. Europe. Big puzzle market traditionally. How does it stack up?
Very similar story to North America, actually. Just under $15 million in 2021. So $14.68 million to be precise.
Right.
Forecast to hit over $31 million by 2033. That CAGR is even a touch higher, 6.55%.
And who's leading the charge in Europe?
Germany, definitely the biggest market there. They started at around $3.19 million and are projected to reach $7.24 million.
Wow, okay. Any other key players?
Oh, yeah. The UK, France, Italy, Spain, they're all showing strong growth, too.
Yeah.
UK, for instance, $1.82 million going up towards $4.05 million. Yeah. France is similar, $1.85 million to $3.68 million.
Mm-hmm.
Italy, $1.45 million to almost $3 million. Spain, $1.14 million to over $2.5 million.
So pretty broad growth across Western Europe, then.
Definitely. Even places like Russia and Sweden show growth, maybe a bit slower in Russia's case, according to the notes here, but still part of the trend. Russia was $0.75 million, aiming for $1.33 million. Sweden, $1.06 million towards $2.29 million.
And the rest of Europe combined adds a good chunk, too.
Yeah, the rest of Europe category was almost $2 million in 2021 and heading over $4 million. So, yeah, robust growth across the continent.
Okay, now for the region, the report really flagged Asia-Pacific, said it was leading the expansion globally.
That's right. And the numbers back it up strongly. It started at $23.31 million in 2021.
Already the biggest region back then.
Exactly. And it's projected to shoot up to $56.23 million by 2033. That's where we see the highest regional CGR, 7.63%.
7.63%.
Wow.
Why do you think it's booming so much there? Does it tie back to those drivers you mentioned, online retail, education focus?
I think it has to, right? You got huge.
This audio was created with podcastle.ai.
Online retail, education focus.
I think it has to, right? You got huge populations, rapid digital adoption. It seems like a perfect fit for those trends.
Mm-hmm.
China's a massive part of it.
Biggest single country market.
Yeah. Over $6.3 million in 2021, projected to hit $15.6 million.
Incredible. And India was mentioned for speed of growth.
Spot on. The report highlights India for the fastest growth rate. Its market is set to nearly triple, from about $3.1 million to over $8.3 million.
Wow.
And it's not just them. Japan, South Korea, Australia, all significant markets too. Japan's looking at nearly $8 million by 2033. South Korea over $6 million. Australia around $2.6 million.
So it's really across the board in APAC. What about places like Southeast Asia?
Yep, included too.
Yeah.
Southeast Asia as a group moving from $1.65 million towards $4.3 million. And even places like Singapore and Taiwan are projected to cross $2.49 million each.
Just amazing growth figures there.
Oh.
Okay, let's shift to South America. What's the picture?
Also showing really strong momentum. A CAGR of 7.25%, so quite high as well.
Okay.
It started at $4.31 million in 2021, and the forecast puts it at $10 million by 2033.
10 million. And Brazil leads there.
Brazil's the largest piece, yeah. Moving from $1.7 million towards $3.9 million. But Argentina gets a special mention for particularly strong growth.
Really? What were its numbers?
Argentina was about $0.76 million in 2021, projected to hit almost $1.9 million, so more than doubling. Strong rate.
Nice. Any others standing out?
Well, Colombia, Peru, Chile, and the rest of the South America group are all growing well. Many of them are expected to be near or even over the $1 million mark each by 2033. It paints a picture of, broadening interest there too.
Okay, two more regions. The Middle East.
Middle East is also looking strong. It was $3.52 million in 2021, expected to reach over $8 million by 2033. The report points to Saudi Arabia and the UAE as the main drivers of demand.
What are their projections?
Saudi Arabia is forecast to hit $2.18 million by 2033, and the UAE around $1.53 million.
Okay.
And the board also notes that Turkey, Qatar, Egypt, and the rest of the region generally have KGRs over 6%, so pretty consistent growth there too.
Good, good. And finally, Africa.
Africa shows perhaps more moderate growth compared to Asia Pacific, but it's definitely consistent. Started at $3.18 million in 2021.
Okay.
And forecast to reach $6.71 million by 2033. So it's still more than doubling over the period.
And within Africa?
South Africa is the dominant market, making up nearly half the total. It's projected to grow from $1.3 million to about $2.9 million.
Right.
Nigeria and the rest of Africa combined are also growing steadily, expected to reach almost $3 million together by 2033.
Okay, so pulling all this together, we've seen solid growth in North America and Europe, really explosive growth in Asia Pacific, strong momentum in South America and the Middle East, and steady gains in Africa. What's the big takeaway here?
Well, just that, really. The fact that it is everywhere. It's not just one or two hotspots. This report makes it pretty clear that the demand for these complex 7x7 cubes is genuinely a global thing. It's rising across multiple regions simultaneously.
And it circles back perfectly to those drivers we talked about at the start, doesn't it?
Exactly. The report concludes by tying it all together, innovation in cognitive games, the power of global online retail, and this growing interest in STEM toys, and, frankly, challenging your brain.
Right.
The source basically says the market, and I think this is the direct quote, poised for impressive multi-regional growth.
Okay, so wrapping this up then. What does this deep dive into just one puzzle, the 7x7 cube, really tell you, our listener? We started with what seems like a niche product.
Yeah, but the report shows it's actually part of this significant growing global trend.
It highlights something interesting happening, right, at this crossroads of, education, tech, especially e-commerce, and that desire for personal development, for brain teasers.
Definitely. It shows that people worldwide are increasingly valuing activities that engage their minds, that offer a real challenge, but are still fun.
So, here's a thought to leave you with. Given how much of this growth seems linked to boosting brain power, learning, STEM interest, and how easily these things are spread through digital channels, what does the boom in something like the 7-order cube market suggest about the future? About how we're choosing to learn and play and maybe even push ourselves globally?
It's a great question. What does it say about the evolution of toys, educational tools, and how modern tech delivers them to, basically everyone?
Something to ponder next time you see one of those complex cubes, or think about how we learn and keep our minds sharp.
Okay, let's dig into this. When you think about puzzles, it's probably, something simple for a quiet afternoon. Maybe a jigsaw.
Yeah, exactly. But what if that whole world has sort of evolved? into something much more complex, even driving a pretty surprising market.
And that's what we're looking at today, right? This specific niche, the 7-order cube market.
That's the one, the 7x7 cube. It really makes the standard little 3x3 speed cube look like, well, basic stuff.
So we've got this market report giving us the inside track. And our plan is to figure out, why is this super specialized market actually growing? Who's buying these things?
And what makes it all work, really?
Yeah, what makes it tick? Or click, I guess.
Right. And the first thing that jumps out is just the scale of growth they're predicting.
Oh, yeah.
The report suggests it could more than double. It was around, $64 million a few years back?
Mm-hmm.
And it might hit over $144 million by 2033. That's pretty significant growth for such a demanding puzzle.
Wow. That tells you there's a real hunger for, serious mental challenges out there.
Definitely.
So who are they then? Who are these people dropping serious time and probably money on these advanced cubes? It can't be your average person picking.
This audio was created with podcastle.ai.
On these advanced cubes. It can't be your average person picking one up.
No, not at all. It's really driven by the seasoned puzzlers and the global speed cubing community.
People who've maybe mastered the smaller ones.
Exactly. They're looking for that next level. The 7x7 offers a much bigger challenge, more intellectual stimulation. It's less about just casual fun, more like pursuing mastery.
And they're not just doing this alone in their rooms, are they? The report seemed to stress the community side of things.
Oh, absolutely. That's huge. It's a really connected subculture.
How does that drive growth, though?
Well, they're constantly sharing online. Techniques, strategies, showing off their solve times. Think YouTube tutorials, specific Reddit forums.
Ah, right. So people teach each other and kind of build excitement organically.
Precisely. It creates this environment for learning, but also, a sense of belonging.
Okay, this is where it gets interesting for the market side. It's not just passion. There's a formal structure, too. Competitions.
Yes, that's a massive factor. Big organizations like the World Cube Association, they actually have the 7x7 as a standard event category.
So proper official competitions.
Yep. And these aren't just casual get-togethers, they pull in top solvers. And crucially, this puts demands on the cubes themselves.
Right, because competitors need speed, reliability.
Exactly that. And that pushes the manufacturers to innovate.
And we see that in the tech, like magnetic cubes. The report mentioned those are pretty standard now for serious cubers. Why magnets?
Right. So with the 7x7, you've got so many layers. Keeping them aligned when you're turning fast is tricky.
Okay.
The magnets are tiny, embedded in the pieces. They help the layers sort of snap into place. Makes it quicker, more precise.
Ah, gotcha. Less catching, smoother turns.
And you often get adjustable tension systems, too. So cubers can tweak how loose or tight the cube feels, match it to their style.
And brands like Moyu, Kigi, they're leading this.
Yeah, they're big names, constantly refining things. You can even buy cubes that are pre-tuned for competition straight out of the box.
Okay, but hang on. Despite all this cool tech and passion, these things must be hard. There have to be barriers, right?
Right, definitely. The main one is just the sheer complexity. The learning curve compared to a 3x3 is, it's steep, really steep.
Takes way longer to solve. More stuff to memorize.
Hugely. Way more algorithms, much more time needed per solve. That pretty much limits the appeal to that dedicated group we talked about. It's not a casual pick-up-and-play puzzle.
And it's not just a time investment either, is it? Cost must be a factor.
Yes, good point. They are relatively expensive compared to simpler puzzles. Makes sense, given the number of parts and the engineering.
But it means it's more of a considered purchase, not an impulse buy.
Right. Not something most shops will stock in huge volumes.
Plus, you mentioned they can be fragile and need maintenance. That sounds like another level of commitment.
It is. So many moving parts means, they can be a bit delicate. You might need to lubricate them, adjust the tension screws, maybe even fix a pop if a piece comes out.
So you need to be willing to tinker a bit.
It reinforces that it's for enthusiasts who are invested beyond just, solving it.
But clearly, people are willing. The market's growing. So what trends are keeping that momentum going against these challenges?
Well, beyond just the speed and performance, there's a growing interest in, collectibles. Special editions.
The different looks.
Yeah, different textures, colors, glow-in-the-dark plastic. sometimes even cubes endorsed by famous speed cubers. It adds this collecting and status angle within the community.
Appeals to hobbyists as well as the hardcore competitors.
Exactly. And the other big thing is just access. Global e-commerce has totally changed the game.
Right, online stores.
Absolutely. You've got Amazon, sure, but also specialty online cube shops like Cubelow or Speed Cube Shop. They ship worldwide.
And they sell more than just the cubes.
Oh, yeah. Lubricants, accessories, mats, timers, bundle deals, everything an enthusiast needs delivered pretty much anywhere. No need for a physical specialty store nearby.
So, when you step back and look at all this, you've got this highly complex, fairly pricey object that even needs maintenance. And it's thriving in our digital age. What does the rise of something like the 7x7 cube tell us? Maybe about how play is changing. Or, the value we put on deep intellectual challenge, that hands-on mastery, and even community when so much is virtual.
It's a fascinating question, isn't it? Definitely something to think about. Where do these kinds of intense tactile hobbies fit in our future?
This audio was created with podcastle.ai.